business, banter and beyond with the Beardos. You're listening to Majid and Ali. You can also follow them at Beardos Media.
Episode of the Beardos with myself, Ali, and my companion,
Majid.
I thought you forgot your name there. Deja vu.
I have so many names, Ali, you don't know the half of it.
As long as they're good names.
I've been given more names recently than I have done, and I've been given them all my life.
Oh, is this to do with being at home a little bit more, is it?
I'm telling you, being at home, and the kids at home, and everybody else at home, it's a totally different lifestyle.
Not one that you chose. Not one that many people choose, to be honest. But
well, yeah, I don't know. Some people do, don't they? They work from home, they live at home. But I guess when you've got kids, it's different, isn't it? They go to school. But I wonder. Actually, this is a good question for those of you who are watching and listening. Would you have it this way by choice? What about when
be stuck at home by choice?
No. Well, you say stuck at home.
Safe at home.
Well, you see, it's a different perception, isn't it? Some kids get homeschooled, don't they?
Yes.
So they're always at home. They have other activities, I guess. That's the different thing.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder how many people would actually feel this is it. This is the right thing. This is the good thing. This is all good. They'd prefer it this way.
Okay. So, interesting. Do you think that will have come about as a result of these last couple of weeks? I can't see it having swayed too many people either way. From what I've witnessed and from what I've read, parents have got a lot more appreciation for teachers now.
That's understandable. That's understandable.
Would you agree?
Yeah. I think just like generally people would have more of an appreciation for NHS stuff.
Yeah. NHS, yes. They're heroes, frontline heroes, no doubt. But an unsung hero is the teacher that manages 20 to 30 kids
all at
on
the
a
same
daily
time.
basis.
All at the same time.
All at the same time. Day in, day out.
Yeah. And on top of that, I think it gives parents an appreciation of understanding things like lesson planning. That it's not just about being at school, it's all the stuff that goes on in the background.
Yeah.
But really, seriously, like the title of today's podcast is, WTF, it's not just the traditional, or not, it's not even a traditional, what the common understanding of those acronyms is, but at the same time, where is the focus? That's the question, isn't it? WTF, where is the focus? I tell you what, I'm not sure if I'm surprised, but I'm lost for words as to how many people have responded to this in so many different ways. This whole thing, the fact that we have this going on. Look, there's a lot of doom and gloom in the news. There's a lot of doom and gloom outside. Rightfully, there's a lot to be cautious about. But I'm genuinely surprised to see some people who are branded as motivational speakers, inspirational people, break down over this. I've seen people already. Yeah, seriously. I've seen people, I've had phone calls with people, and I've heard from people who really don't know how to cope with it all, and they're losing the plot in the nicest possible way. They've really not been able to configure how they're going to go with this.
Okay, so we've got Sharon listening in, and on the point of whether wanting to do this voluntarily or not, she says, not necessarily by choice. However, I am looking at what to do. What do I want to go back to normal, and what do I want to continue? There has been some blessings and bonuses that's come from a manufactured change. I think we can all agree with that.
That's it. Yeah, I bang on. I think because thanks for that, Sharon, by the way. There are a lot of people who don't want to go back to the way they were before. And I've heard that, and I've seen posts on Facebook. And people say, well, you know what? The world's not going to be the same. It's not going to be the way it was. When people, because some people refer to it as when this is all over, and when we get back to
normal,
back to normal, or back to what it was before. It's not going to be what it was before. Is the general consensus from what I've seen? It might be for some, but from the general comments that I see, it's not going to be the way it used to be. People are going to have had time to reflect over a lot of things. And Sharon's absolutely right. You know, there are a lot of blessings which we've probably taken for granted.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's only something like this happens, we get to understand, you know what, I should have thought about this before, or I should have at least...
I'd be very disappointed if the world was to go back to exactly how it was before. It's almost to say we've learnt nothing.
We've learnt nothing, yeah. You're right.
So yeah, there's some of it is testing, but at the same time there's blessings.
Sorry, someone says, I almost got you both mixed up and wondered how your Majid's beard got so big. It's
a new conditioner that he's using.
Yeah, thanks, Aman. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Aman, Eddie, Nakib. I think we've got Yasser as well, and some of the other lads in there. So the question is, where is the focus? Because I think from what I've noticed, what I was saying earlier on, a lot of people are focusing on the news. They're focusing on what's going on. They want to, habitually, they want to keep updated with what's going on, what the stats are, where are things going, when is it going to get any better, how many cases have come about in the local area. But the question is it necessarily a negative thing? Because some people have themselves been negged out, like so negative themselves, by looking at that, by looking at all that negative news, that it kind of drained them. Someone says I would say focus is in self-reflection and introspection. Very good. Someone, I agree. Replanning, readjusting, and resetting. Yes, I agree. But when you reset, really, what comes into my mind is when you reset a phone, it goes to factory settings.
Back to factory settings, yeah, autopilot, yeah.
So
hope that's not the case. But then, what are you resetting to?
Yeah, this is the question.
Probably not back to where we were. Is it 2 weeks, a week, 3 weeks? I don't even know.
Well, this is the third week now, isn't it? It's been 2 weeks. This is the third week.
When's the Easter holidays?
Wasn't that this weekend gone? Or is it next
have
weekend?
we had them?
I don't know. Guys, when is Easter holidays?
Honestly,
this is so bad.
I'm lost.
Yeah, I have absolutely no idea. Absolutely no idea when the holidays are. When were the holidays? When are they traditionally?
To be fair, Easter weekend.
We're embarrassing ourselves.
Easter Friday coming up, isn't it? This week coming is Easter Friday.
Possibly. If any of you know when the Easter holiday is, just let us know.
Yeah, let us know. It'd be nice for us to.
We've completely gone blank. Easter holidays week started. Oh, so yeah, Sahil, he's a teacher, so he's saying the Easter holidays week has started.
So this is the Easter holidays is 2 weeks, right?
Yeah. So Eddie's saying. So hope you're well, Eddie. By the way, just watch Boris's briefs. Which briefs?
His what? Sorry.
Boris's briefs.
Wow, that's not a pleasant thought.
Just watch Boris's briefs as the media stirs up the anxiety. You know what? This is the question. Why do they feel the need to watch so much news? I know some people who watch it all day long. It's always on in the background on TV because they're at home.
Now?
Yeah. But why? Why do they feel the need to watch it all day long? What is it that they feel they're going to get out of watching the news? And is the news even balanced in what it's depicting or what we get to see?
Probably not if you're watching the same platforms.
Yeah. People need to limit their media and
news intake
because it can overwhelm them. Yes, you're right. And this is the point. Yeah. It's all becoming overwhelming. But why do it? What is it that makes people want to do it?
Is it the fear of missing out? somewhat. FOMO.
Missing out what?
News, updates, statistics. I don't know. Why do we watch the news?
Well, Eddie's just said the same thing. It's fear of missing out.
Yeah.
Well,
No, I agree with Eddie, to be honest.
Jamil says more time for family and chance to focus on spiritual improvement. This is it. I agree with Jamil. Look, here's the thing. There are a lot of things, like we said earlier, which we've been taking for granted. And people will probably have discovered new things about their own family members, which they were oblivious about before.
Yeah, some they may like, some they
may not. Some they may not. You know, there was a post I put up a few weeks, I think it was about a week before this really kicked off, and I said, you know, there's going to be an increase. I was just joking, but there's going to be an increase in the need for divorce lawyers. And maternity nurses by Christmas time. But the thing is, we all have positives, negatives in our personalities, in our lives. It's a matter of keeping it balanced, isn't it? And I suppose one of the balanced ways of doing things is by having that bit of a break between each other. For some people, that's a necessity. Otherwise, you know, people can have strong personalities. It can become overwhelming for the other person.
Yes. Too much of a good thing, isn't it?
Yeah. And not to say that they're bad. It's not necessarily because someone's bad. It's because it's just the way they are. They can be overwhelming. They can be overactive. You know, we get kids like that. And obviously when kids grow up, they become adults who are like that. You know, people who are...
Once a day is enough of the news, Fazil says.
Once a day. Interesting.
I'd agree with that. Unless there is minute-by-minute updates or something else is happening. See, the problem with the news...
Where do you get your news from?
Yeah.
When you say news, what do you mean? When I was referring to news, I was generally referring to the main media outlets, right? Like the BBCs and, you know, all the other the main ones out there who are always publishing something either on YouTube.
The news channels.
Yeah. So where do you watch it? Where do you get your news from?
See, mostly social media. And the problem with social media is that it's not controlled, it's not regulated as such, because in the space of 2 weeks, 3 weeks even, I would say more so in the last week, I've seen the research or the studies on coronavirus just be a roller coaster ride. Wear gloves, don't wear gloves. Wear a mask, don't wear a mask.
Yeah.
You know, and I think yesterday I read that a lot of experts are now saying it's more dangerous to be indoors than it is outdoors. And if you're watching the news or if you're on social media...
Experts say that?
Yeah.
There's some experts who are saying that it's more dangerous to be indoors than outdoors.
Outdoors, yeah.
Wow, that's the first time. What, like amongst families or what? Because if you're indoors, if you're within the same family, and you're not meeting anybody outside that family, how can that be more dangerous?
See, that's the thing, though, isn't it? Nobody's completely cut off, are they?
No. You have to
I guess
go
they
out
mean
to
outdoors in the sense that an open area, obviously
like
not
a garden.
Yeah, like a garden, fresh air, you know.
Okay.
Inside, it's more or less the same air circulating, isn't it?
Unless you've got the windows open.
Even then, to an extent, yeah. But the point being is that how much confusion is this going to lead to? Because people will read a headline or maybe the first paragraph and then they'll share it. So within the space of 20 minutes, you can read gloves are good and then gloves are bad and then wash your hands and then do this and then do that and then masks, no masks, certain type of mask. Stay indoors, go outdoors. And this is repetitive throughout the day.
Nas says, we will never have the real news. Or factually accurate news, I guess.
We'll never know.
We'll never.
Yeah.
Or we might know when it's all over and done with in the next 10 years later or something, which is usually the case. It's like the Bollywood police always arrives late, isn't it?
Yeah.
So there's this news, this kind of news.
Yeah, it's true.
Someone says, oh my God, so much contradictions. It can get so confusing. Experts said gloves and masks are bad as they harbour more germs. Look, here's the thing. those of you who know me know that I train in health and safety subjects as well as the other stuff that I do, and risk management, malarkey. One of the things that I train in is food safety, as Ali will tell you, because I train his staff as well. And when it comes to PPE, every form of PPE has its own way to be worn. The donning and doffing of PPE, the way it should be maintained, how often it should be used, how it can be overused. These are all coming down to sensible risk management strategies. Now, if you're going to wear a pair of gloves and you're going to wear the same pair all day, thinking that it's going to protect you, then that can actually have a negative effect instead. So I've seen videos, and I saw one yesterday somebody sent to me, and it was actually a medical, well, it looked like a medical professional, could have been a nurse, could have been somebody who's just helping out in a hospital, saying that, no, we shouldn't be wearing gloves, we should just wash hands more often. Now, I think it's conflated, that statement, or that view is, because gloves are there for protection, but if they're overworn or worn more than, then the
Which
question
is quite
arises.
often the case, isn't it?
Yeah,
Can you see why
I can see
a professional would advise against gloves to the average, the layman like myself?
Yeah.
Once I'm wearing a pair of gloves,
I
consider myself immune. Like what's in a video game where you've got a shield or ultimate unlimited lives? Is that once I'm wearing gloves, I'm more confident. I feel like I'm protected. I feel like I can touch my face, or I can kind of touch multiple things, which is actually counterproductive because I'm now touching more things.
Yeah.
And the gloves are picking up everything from everywhere.
And then you might be touching your face.
Yeah.
Or touching somebody else.
Yeah.
On their face.
And now, obviously, I'm not disposing of the gloves after every 10 minutes or 20 minutes. Well, most people aren't, are they?
Most people aren't. No, even in the food industry, people don't. But
I've seen people wear the same mask day after day. And this is the disposable, one-use masks.
And some masks are prone to absorbing more of these germs and bacteria and keeping them there for longer than others, which is why the right type of mask needs to be.
This is also another study that I briefly read today, is that the coronavirus survives a few hours on your hands, I think 12 hours or a day on stainless steel and plastics and certain things. But they said that the longest thing that we found the coronavirus to survive on was face masks.
Or that specific type of
face mask.
Yeah.
Because they tested it over 7 days. Everything else they obviously recorded a time for. This lasted a day, 18 hours, 2 days. But the mask, come the end of the 7 days experiment, was still traceable.
So how many of you guys are actually wearing PPE? How many of you guys are wearing masks or gloves? How often do you change them? What's your recommendation? Where do you get your information from? Why do you recommend what you recommend? This is the common question. I mean, on this live, we've got some people who are medical professionals, people who are nurses, some people who are in the medical field.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, so it'd be good to hear from you guys, from your viewpoint.
And whether they have contradicting views amongst themselves.
That's a good point, yeah. I think there's a balance. The balance is you wear PPE for specific activities. If I'm in the house, I don't need to wear it if I'm in the same circle all the time, yeah? This is my personal viewpoint. I'll wash my hand regularly. If I'm going out, again, the limited number of times that I do go out, if I do go out for doing
once a day,
yeah. Unless I'm doing a drop of a food parcel for the stuff that I'm doing, or
of course,
we do the homeless feeds and whatnot. But we've got a good team, so I don't need to do that very often, and I don't do that very often because we've got some fantastic people. Some of these guys are watching here. Go on.
Someone has just commented, yes, they are meant to be disposable, I guess. Us Asians don't always know how to throw things away. I like that.
That is so true. That is so true.
Weren't we just talking about this earlier today about being hoarders and not knowing?
We were talking about that on the way here.
Declutter.
On the way here, because
this is true.
I'm sorting stuff out in the house for my kids and for my office, and I've found stuff from 8 years ago. And I was telling Ali that I've actually got my old school books from when I was in
Slightly longer than
school.
8 years ago.
Just slightly, just slightly. I've got my university papers and notes and some university books as well. I just can't bring myself to get rid of them. Shaz, you're saying people are transferring germs, etc. when wearing gloves because they don't change them after each task defeats the object. And this is it.
Yes.
Even in food safety, we say you should change your gloves when you're changing your task.
Yes.
But you know, we do so many tasks within the day.
Yeah. So if you weren't wearing gloves,
you just wash your hands.
You'd wash your hands.
Exactly.
But now, because you're wearing gloves, quite often we find people don't feel the need to have to change their gloves, which is a shame.
Yeah.
Which is, again, a false sense of security, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Rabina is saying it's better to wash your hands than wear gloves. Naz is saying, wasn't this at one point 250,000? What was 250,000?
250,000. Okay, so I think it's to a previous comment by Mohammed. Media is causing confusion and fear. UK, Sir Patrick Vallance says the number of coronavirus cases in UK moving in right direction and possible that we're seeing beginning the curve to flatten. So we've peaked.
But
Cross over to researchers at University of Washington. They're saying Britain could suffer more than 60,000 deaths and we could be the worst hit nation in Europe. Talk about putting positive outlooks and then be shown fear at the same time. Wow. Washington's really not our friend right now, are they? Or are they just trying to warn us?
No idea. Ibran is saying Chinese are the slaves to the mask even without COVID.
So
yeah, well, that's because of the environment, isn't it?
So Naz is asking, wasn't this figure at one point predicted to be 250,000? Were we ever predicted that many deaths? I can't imagine that to be true.
No, not 250,000. Not 250,000.
If that was the case, I think the whole lockdown and everything would have come a lot sooner, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think the number of people who will get the virus was about 300,000 or something, but not that many deaths though.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so someone said, but stopped wearing the mask now because not even entirely sure where they were made.
Well, we know where they were made, come on.
Iram is saying the mainstream media is designed to control us by fueling fear and anxiety, negativity, etc. Sadly, it's working. Domestic violence has increased. Wow, she's put a long message here. So domestic violence has increased as a result. This is sickening, as is the hoarding of food. For those, yeah, you're right. For those who are spiritually aware, this is a blessing. We must embrace it. Governments are being exposed, and we can now see with our eyes wide open things that have been hidden until now. This is a sign to return to the real normal way of living as opposed to the rat race. By that I mean humanity serving each other as opposed to serving systems designed to destroy us. Ooh. We are one community. Realize, realize. That's a Tupac line, isn't it?
Realize.
I love it though, it's good.
Yeah.
Peace, love and blessings to you all. Nice one, Aaron. Realize, yeah.
I agree, but with regards to the rat race, I think there's an element of truth in there for many of us.
Imran is saying we should have an episode where you go through Majid's report cards. You know what? I've got some of my school reports, you know, Imran.
No.
I've got so many positive reports. I was one of them ones. But 786 deaths today in the UK, Asia says. Wow, 786. Asia, where did you get that figure from?
But again, I was listening earlier to BBC Radio 4 and they're saying the way that they record these statistics is varied. So the hospital figures don't match the registrar figures, for example. A 70-year-old, 80-year-old passes away with pneumonia or blood pressure issues or whatever, but they were recorded as having tested positive for the coronavirus.
Okay.
Now, one set of figures would put the cause of death as the coronavirus, whereas another report would say, you know, the actual cause, so the blood pressure or heart attack or, you know, cardiac arrest, whatever it might be.
But surely they've got to put the right cause on their death certificate.
But then how do you put coronavirus as the cause of death?
Well, you'd have to test them, wouldn't you? I
You could
guess.
test them to see whether they test positive or not. But are these people, a lot of these people dying, is the cause of death coronavirus? How many people die on a normal day in the UK? Of what are we, 70 million?
Don't ask me figures like that.
Would be interesting. So what are we on, the 4th or 5th of April today?
No,
How many-
it's more than that, isn't it? It's 7th, man.
Oh wow.
It's the
Sorry,
7th
it's
of
just
April.
one long weekend the last few weeks.
Eddie
So-
says, should we sue China? Eddie,
Can we
should
sue China?
Can we sue China? Could it be classed a crime as well as 3 have come from China? As all 3 have come from China.
3?
3 what? I don't know.
What did I miss? Eddie, what did I miss?
Masks, gloves and Corona. Yeah, Tupac, Iram, I was right, thank you, Iram. There's no sort of thing called lockdown in UK. People are still wandering around as if nothing has happened. Yeah, Nas, you're right. Some people are. I don't think most people are anymore, but some people are. You're right. The numpties are, and this will continue. Asia says that figure has come from BBC News. 786 deaths. Look, here's the thing. If it says 786 deaths due to the coronavirus, then that's one thing. If it just says 786 deaths without stating that it's coronavirus, then that's something else. If someone can clarify that for us, that would be good. I've been in lockdown personally, not even gone to meet any family or friends, only gone out for walks. That's it. Well done, someone. That is
the best way.
That's the best way.
And honestly, I think I can speak for both of us when I say we would strongly advise that.
Yeah. Unless you're coming to pick up a sweet retreat.
Well,
Even then, you're
it's
not
an
even-
option.
You're not an option anymore. Yeah.
It's not an option. But
It's all delivery now, isn't it?
probably the worst thing, and I never thought I'd be able to say this in one sentence, but probably the worst thing that you could do right now is visit family or friends, especially someone who might be vulnerable. You know, for example, parents or grandparents. And I think a lot of people are finding that really tough. How many examples of people going to their grandparents' house and not being able to greet them or meet them? It's literally waving at them through a window. And that's not easy, but it's the right thing to do. It's
So,
the safer thing to do.
Naz is saying the Imperial College COVID-19 response team, which has been advising ministers, said that even with the social distancing plans set out by the government, the health system will be overwhelmed many times over. The coronavirus outbreak will lead to deaths of about 250,000 people in the UK, unless more draconian measures are introduced, scientists have warned. Wow.
Which
I didn't-
which needs to be put on the table.
Wow. 250? I didn't think it was going to be that much.
I think these figures will change on a daily basis.
Around 4,000 people die each month from the common flu, Imran says.
I believe that.
Yeah.
I believe that. So, relatively speaking, you know, where does that put coronavirus? No doubt, and we don't want to undermine or underplay. It is extremely serious, and we
Yeah.
should approach it with extreme caution.
Rubina saying, I have heard that they are making family members sign that their loved ones died of corona, only then is the body released. Oh, really? Wow. So to release the body for them to continue with the burial and ghusl and whatever stuff, whatever else.
I think there's
goes on.
been
The-
various, how do I say, rumors or reports around those kind of situations. I don't know how true they are. It'd be good to hear.
Well, Sahil is saying April 1 cases. April okay, so April
1st of April.
1st of April cases 4,324 deaths with 563.
562 deaths, 4,324 cases.
Okay, yeah.
So
yeah.
April 2nd, 4,200 deaths.
So April the
cases.
4th, it was 708 deaths, and that's in the UK.
Okay.
Well, look, here's the thing. In either case, I mean, judging from what we've just read here and the comments that are coming through, a lot of people have done a lot of research, or they're looking at numbers and figures. And I'm going to be the first one to admit I don't know that many of the figures. I haven't focused on them. For me, that's not the important thing. For me personally, I know that I need to be mindful of my movements.
Yeah.
I need to be aware that I have to, the social distancing has to be practiced.
Yeah.
I need to be aware of certain measures that I have to take place to manage the family and, everything that's going on. And that's enough for me to focus on without getting too bogged down with the numbers. The numbers are important, don't get me wrong, and I appreciate everybody who's maybe they're doing the research for us whilst we're on live.
Do you think that varies from age group to age group? The measures that we're taking, because
does the outlook vary? It could be argued the outlook on the whole thing is varied.
Outlook will always vary, isn't that? Comes with sort of the life experience and everything else. And because if you look at the streets, not that you should be out looking at the streets, get back home, save lives. But if you look at the streets, or if you look at the supermarkets, it's mostly people, I would say 20s to 30s, 30s to 40s. I'm not seeing a lot of young people out, as in school kids or teenagers. But then I'm not seeing a lot of elderly people out either.
I'm seeing a mix, but mostly you're right. I think that kind of age group is out more than anybody else. Or maybe because they're out doing the shopping for the others.
This is what I'm saying. So is that, do you think we're not getting enough credit for that? So we keep, obviously, the most vulnerable groups, young children or the really elderly or people with health issues, we're keeping them safe. And the young and healthy ones, or the not so young and healthy ones like us, are out running the errands and doing what they have to do.
So, okay, yeah, fair enough.
I think the only exception to the rule is there seems to be a lot of reports of teenagers ignoring the rules.
I haven't seen many teenagers around, to be honest. But saying that, I've not gone out much.
You're not going to, are you? Because where are they? They're in,
I'm not even out much, so I have no idea.
But to be fair, I haven't seen many groups hanging around. But there's been reports of a few, birthday parties shut down. Reports of kids gathering in the park or jumping the fence or whatever, and still standing around smoking and doing what teenagers do, isn't it? I wonder if they realise.
Coming back to that question then, on that point, my original question was, where's the focus? WTF, where's the focus? Different people are focused on different things, yeah? Now, some people, if you look at the different dynamics of the population, in general, we've got the maturer or elderly community, you've got the middle-aged community, some professional, some not. We've got families, people with extended families, people who live with mixed families, we've got single people. But where is the focus? Because here's the thing, like I said at the beginning, I'm seeing some people who are very professional in their day-to-day lives. They are very successful business people. They've gone through a lot of adversities. They're very resilient in so many different ways. But they've broken down when it's come to this. What is it that they're focusing on? They're focusing on the negative stuff.
Yeah.
But negatives in the past haven't affected them as much as they're affecting them now.
Yeah, and the reality is it's a 1% or was it 2% mortality rate?
Well, it depends where you are, I guess. I read somewhere it was about 3%.
Okay.
And then somewhere I read it was about 5%.
Wow, okay. I didn't realise.
But again, it comes back to what we're getting as information and how accurate that information is.
3% of those affected. Okay.
Drug crime must be down, says Eddie. Yes. Shaquille Chauhan says, as long as the former colonies and Commonwealth countries can sue Britain for its crimes. Okay, so that's theft of resources.
Which is a kind of worms, isn't it?
Yeah, well.
And I think, was it Boris or was it a financial advisor that recommended suggested that Boris Johnson should look to sue China. That's not going to happen, is it?
Well, he keeps calling it the Chinese virus, doesn't he?
That's Donald Trump, isn't it?
Yeah. Trump does, yeah.
Okay.
So Saheli says, total to date, UK has 55,242 cases and 6,159 deaths. However, we are not seeing provided figures. We are not being provided figures of how many have recovered. That's the sort of point. Actually, there is a website. I've seen a website somewhere where it shows that people have recovered and how many of them there are. And the only figure provided is 135, but that figure has been the same for the last few weeks. Eddie says, that's not negative. News rarely published good news, which is true. Ibran says, my missus was asked what she was doing when out shopping on Waterloo Street today. Wow.
About time.
Yeah.
About time.
I've not come across anybody who has, I mean, that I've known, who I know personally, or somebody who knows who I know.
No experience. I asked around the other day, and a couple of my friends had also been pulled over.
Whoa, that's understandable. I'm just joking.
But wasn't one gentleman from Leicester pulled over on his way back from London? And they asked him what was he making this 120-mile trip for, 240-mile round trip.
Oh, I heard about this.
And he to get a loaf of bread.
Some bread or something. Yeah, well, obviously that was going to be an excuse, wasn't it? Naz is saying autoimmunity has a lot to play in the deaths, how body fights it. Yes, very true. Simon Sheikh says, summon if they announce. Okay, so that's something towards summon. We've got loads of comments in. Ali, read some comments if you can.
To be fair, my favourite comment is coming from Fazal, and he says, any positives? You guys are becoming like the news. So he's asking us if we've got any positive outlook on this.
Well, this is the point. Look, here's the thing. I was speaking.
I agree with you, Faz. We are kind of drifted.
Yeah, wholeheartedly, Faz. I was speaking to Ali earlier on today, and I was saying to Ali, I'm in two minds about whether we should continue this podcast whilst this is going on.
Yes.
Right? Purely because there's the one thing that we need to practice the social distancing, which we are. The second question was, if we do it, what's the value in it? And the value which we kind of concluded was, well, we concluded that we can give people something to talk about or focus on other than what's going on. But that's exactly what we've been doing. We've been focusing on what's going on. So here's the thing, guys. Those of you who are at home, share with us your tips. What is it that you're doing differently, possibly to other people, that's helping you, which you feel is something good to share with the rest of the world or the people who who follow us. So what is it that you're doing differently? Because we've got families with kids at home. What are you doing if you've got kids at home to make things different? I was talking to Ali the other day, and I was saying to him, look, people come from different backgrounds, and there's this conception that, I don't know whether it's an accurate one or it's a misconception, that people who come from rough backgrounds or they were challenged in their upbringing, or they had rough upbringing, that they end up working harder and becoming more, what would be the word? Resilient, maybe? Determined. But I'm not sure that's true.
Okay, so are the underprivileged hungrier?
It's a good question.
For success.
Not for
Again,
it all depends. Look, success is a word which is so objective
achievements
in its interpretation.
Yeah.
But achievements of what?
Well, this is the thing. If your children are well off, or you're well off, and if you're in a good school and you live in a good home and you've got, good hobbies, if you go horse riding and you've got a private pool and whatever, what's your motivation? Academically, or even going further than that, when you get a bit older, what is your motivation? Do you have it? Do you have that drive?
Well, the drive might not be to achieve what you already have, but maybe surpass what's already been handed down to you, or the drive might be to maintain it because of the pressures, society's pressure. You have a certain image and status to uphold now. You can't go back down from that. That could be the case. It could be so many other things. But those people who have come from underprivileged backgrounds, those who go on to achieve good things deserve a lot of credit. And the reason I agree with that, there's a reason for that, is because they've started from the starting line, way behind the starting line, to get to where they are. But again, is that what's perceived as success for them or not? So are some people just born to achieve great things and wonderful things, and some people not? I came across this saying once that it was actually something. There was a lecture I was listening to once, and somebody says, "Isn't it amazing how everybody who has certain accumulation of wealth, if wealth is what we're going to be measuring this by, or status or power or whatever, isn't it amazing that there are certain people who never get to those positions because they have they are leaning towards a certain type of personality, maybe negative personalities in certain ways, or people whose thinking is so odd." But this was about 5 or 6, no, not actually, it was probably about 15, 20 years ago I heard that lecture, right? That the distribution of power amongst people is such that those people who are not able to cope with that power never end up getting that kind of power. Or those people who would completely make things fall apart will never end up getting that kind of power. So you get people like running for elections and stuff.
Yeah.
They might have a lot of friends and a good following, but if they don't have that level of aptitude or competency to run things in a certain way, like a prime minister level, then they're never going to get to that position. It's just the law of nature, as they put it, right? But then you look at some of the politicians nowadays and you think,
son of a bus driver, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, okay, so that's a different thing, isn't it? Son of a bus driver goes to become the mayor
of one of the biggest cities, almost
the capital of
cities,
the UK, yeah, which is in itself as an achievement is a fantastic achievement.
Now, is that a bigger achievement than
somebody from Eton College to become the mayor?
Well, even prime minister is what was his name?
Who's
Sadiq Khan?
Yeah.
So Sadiq Khan, son of a bus driver, becomes the mayor of London, and then I'm sure he's held other positions in government. Surely that's a bigger achievement than Boris becoming prime minister?
Well, if you measure it, I can see how you're measuring it, then yeah, I think anybody would be inclined to agree with that. But with people who are who come from those underprivileged backgrounds, I think, look, some people don't want to change their way of living. There was a documentary on, wasn't there, a few months ago, where where they interview families in certain neighbourhoods, Benefit Street or something, I think it was called. They came across one family who, for about 6 generations, or however many generations, they were on benefits of some kind. None of them had ever worked. At least 3-4 generations, and none of them had ever worked, and that trend continues. What breaks the cycle? What breaks the cycle? What's the mindset which breaks the cycle?
Good question. Good question. I think this is where being underprivileged, or being from a poorer background, or being someone from a background where you don't take things for granted as such, are more determined to achieve more, to go further.
Farzana Hussein's asking, when you say position, can you define the word?
Position.
I think she's referring to when we say people attain higher positions.
Let's take it right back. You've got 2 year 7 students or year 9 students. One is from, shall we say, a council house, from a working class home, and one is from a very well-off home. Now, their capability, if it was to be measured, let's say, for example, it's the same.
Aptitude or
Aptitude.
Yeah.
Now, my opinion on the matter is that the one that comes from the more humble beginnings or the more working class family, who, you know, maybe don't take things for granted or miss out on a lot of things, has more drive in him or her.
Okay.
But that's just my, you know, that's the way I'd interpret it. Because if I looked at it from this 15-year-old child's, or if you look at the world from these two 15-year-olds' point of view, one hopefully wants to achieve things and do things and kind of maybe improve the position of his parents, or maybe even for himself. Maybe he wants to drive a nice car or live in a nice house or whatever.
Yeah.
The other one, I struggle to see the motivation or the drive, other than, like you say, the pressure from the parents or the pressure of being in a private school. Or the, you know,
But couldn't that work in both ways though? So those people who've come from underprivileged backgrounds, you say they have more drive because they have more to achieve or you know, overcome.
yeah,
But on the same note, on the flip side of the coin, because they have so much to overcome to get to the same maybe level, social status or financial status as the other, they might just give up too easily. Or easily, not too easily, but they might just not give it a go.
the finishing line isn't the same for both of them, is it?
Well, other than the exceptional cases.
Yeah. So it's an interesting point. It's an interesting point. Another point is a question to yourself. Majid, do you have a sniffle, or is it Ali's aftershave, which is overwhelming?
Oh no.
Can't actually notice, say I've noticed you sniffling or not. But there we go. I hope it's not my aftershave.
I'm not sniffling. Am I?
Is that the I haven't noticed, no.
No, I'm not sniffling. Who's asked the question, by the way?
There was a comment, if I scroll up, Salah Umar. Routine. Someone makes some interesting points that I'm keeping my focus on my goals and objectives, being solution orientated and finding alternative ways of working. I'm enjoying having the chance to refocus, I guess, and also spiritually understand why this might be happening for the greater good of mankind overall. So trying to keep a routine, still waking up at the normal time.
Okay.
Getting on
yes,
with the day at the normal time. How difficult is that right now?
I saw a video, one of my friend Kasim, he posted a video on LinkedIn today, and he said, look, these are my tips to overcome your negatives in your lives whilst you're working from home. He says the first thing you need to do is get out of bed like normal time as you would for work and get changed.
Which is
maybe not so
a
early.
mountain to climb right now, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe you don't want to get up, maybe you can't get up at the same time because you're probably sleeping late. If you're like me, you'll probably sleep really late. But if you're getting up and you're in your gym jams all day, that has an effect on your mindset. Now, I agree with that to an extent because whenever I'm training anybody in sales or even influencing and negotiating skills, attire makes a big difference psychologically to yourself as well as those people who are around you. So if you're at home and you're working from home, you don't want to obviously put your whole suit on and a tie on, but at least get dressed, you know? Jeans, shirt, that's enough. You don't have to put a tie on or anything.
Yeah.
But
the
I think
point
it puts
being
you
is,
into that mindset.
it's a bit of a cycle because, like you said, you're going to bed later.
Yeah.
You're not doing anything more. So why are you going to bed later? Why can you not wake up at the same time?
If you're not already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
if you're not already going to bed late,
a
according to
lot
your
of
body
us
clock.
are finding that our purpose is gone. We don't have to be anywhere.
Now that's deep. That's deep.
Which is a shame, really, because how much of our purpose lied in I think someone referred to earlier as the rat race.
Yeah. That's a good question. If you're lost now because you feel like your purpose has been snatched away, then what were you living for? Now that, Ali, man, you're dropping some heavy bars tonight.
That's it. I want comments on that, straight up. It's true though. I think so many of us are lost.
Saleh, yes, it's Ali's attar. It's the oud that he's wearing, mashallah, from that majestic beard. But yes. Oh, Mr. Rahim says, Assalamu alaikum. Wealth influences life experiences, but not what mindset children have. This depends on parents, family, and their social settings. I've seen children from poor background achieve much more than the wealthy. Also, peer pressure is also a big influence on life choices young people make. Interesting point, because she's a teacher. She was one of my teachers back in the day.
Oh, mashallah.
So I think people like Mr. Rahim would see how it's evolved. Oh, maybe that's why he's saying, I got sniffles, because I'm wiping my nose.
There it is.
I have a habit, because from a very young age, my nose used to sweat, and it's kind of bringing back memories being around Ali. It makes me nervous. No,
I make a lot of people sweat. It's
make
one of those
everyone
qualities.
nervous, yeah. So that's a good point.
Hearing from a teacher is fantastic.
Yeah, I mean,
because that's years of research and observation, isn't it?
And real life observation,
real
not
life,
just theories. You know, they're not just basing their opinions on what they've read or stats. It's what they've seen. And Mr. Rahim has been teaching us in our, in Burton, particularly the less or underprivileged background kids. And she's gone on to see the difference on how some people have achieved so much more and some people haven't achieved so much.
I think with kids of that age is that they need to feel a certain level of, or be deprived of something in order to work for it. If you have everything, for example, I've got kids at home, you've got kids at home, right? Now, if they've got everything that they want, how keen are they on doing anything for a bit of extra pocket money?
I think a lot of that also depends on the environment they live in. If they've got parents who have, or who are perceived to have everything that they want, parents drive a nice car, parents have a nice house.
This is the
right?
children, this is the child, isn't it? So if he's got a bike, and she's got a PlayStation and games.
My point is, Ali, what's the lesson that's being taught to that child inadvertently by the way their parents are still working? If the parents are working hard, like grafting, even though they have everything, what's that teaching the child? Do you see where I'm coming from? So the child might have everything, but then he sees, or she sees, their parents still working hard, grafting, even though they are perceived to have everything. The child might not understand that, because there are financial responsibilities, like maybe they've got a rent or mortgage to pay. Maybe they've got high financial commitments which need to be fulfilled. What goes on in the background can't be seen, but what the child sees from a very young age of their parents is what they're going to remember most, aren't they? That's going to obviously have an impact on their, even the unconscious mind, if not even the conscious mind. They will have something to guide them in their lives as to what, how life is and what life is, or what life is supposed to be. Sajid says, or some people worked but have health issues, they can't work and they got small children. Yes, everyone's situation is very different, and we've got to take it for what it is. Asya says, I think there's a difference if circumstances put you on benefits and you had no choice other than to be on them to survive, or if you are out of your own choice, chose not to work. So there's a choice element there, and you live off benefits because you're lazy, then this will determine whether you want a change in your life or not. So it's easier to sit and just live off the benefits if the benefits are rolling in.
Okay.
If your mere ambition, well, I can't even call it ambition, if you're just in survival mode.
So your wants are minimal, aren't they?
The other day when I came to see you to drop something off, we were talking about how surprising it is how, was it 40% of the UK or the population would not survive more than 2 weeks?
2 paychecks.
2 paychecks. 2 months.
2 months, yeah.
Isn't that shocking? So 40% of the UK population live hand to mouth, literally.
Yes. Yeah. And some of that 40%, a lot less than 2 months, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I think it'd be a lot of that. Most of that 40% would be less than 2 months or 2 paychecks. Because, yeah. So, are we going into like discussion on the distribution of wealth now? Is that where this is going?
We should save that for another day. Because
this is too heavy. Topic. It's too heavy.
That is too so deep. But routine still gets me. We're in, and I think Eddie says we're just coming up to 21 days now, aren't we?
Well, he's saying I still run a business and things have to be done. So start at 10 to 2 all week. Try and keep routine. Yeah.
If that was your routine.
Well, maybe
if your routine was waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning, having breakfast and being out the house for 7, your routine is going to change, isn't it? It's going to be gone. They say...
Well, the thing is, though, your circumstances have changed, though, haven't they? Mm-hmm. So your routine has to change. Imran's a classic example. Imran's saying that I've got to spend more time with family, reading namaz and with the kids, getting involved with schooling more. Make the most of things. Maybe we take these things for granted. Trust me, soon be over and we will be back to normal. What's normal, Imran? What's normal?
I dread to think.
What's normal? Eddie says they do say it takes 21 days to change a routine. We've been in isolation for 21 days, so people's routine have changed to this new norm. Okay, interesting. 21 days, yes. I've got that track, 21 days. Not 20, that's 21 seconds. 21 seconds. I forgot 21 seconds ago. Okay.
That's something else that takes that long. I don't know. But, okay, so 21 days to change your
Very well, Sakib. Thank you very much. Thanks for tuning in. Foodie Debates. Nazneen is saying, I sit at home, although shielding and need motivation every time. So use my social media wisely, trying to raise awareness on subject areas to be... Naz, tell us, does coming on social media give you motivation, or does it, demotivate you?
It drains you.
I want to know, because Naz saying she's at home, and although shielding and need motivation every time to use my social media. Oh, she needs motivation to use social media. I might have read that wrong. Yeah, Fazl saying leave it out. That's probably referring to your comment.
I think he's replying to Nab in his foodie debate.
Ah, okay. Leave him out, you mean then? So, yeah, is it motivation?
Is this some kind of norm we're entering then? Because this lockdown's not over anytime soon, is it? The figures are still on a climb, drastic climb. Even though I read somewhere that we've kind of come to that curve. Yeah. If this is norm, I'm a bit worried. For a lot of people, for myself, I haven't found any routine yet. See, my business or my day is slightly different. We're classed as key workers. So, although my routine's changed, I've found myself in a new routine.
A routine, nevertheless, yeah?
Yeah, I guess so. But then I've got other members of my household who are obviously not key workers, being kids or, whatever. They're all struggling. I'd probably say they're struggling more than me.
Have you put a routine? Tried putting a routine for them? Guys, if you're watching this and you've got kids around, how do you manage it during this period? What is it that you do? What kind of routine have you got in place for them? If you've got a routine, do you think a routine works better for you, or having no routine? I used to have a routine. Obviously, everybody had a routine of some kind when they were at school. But I've kind of flipped it on its head recently. Like when they're at school, my kids, they've all got their own iPads and whatnot. None of them were allowed to use their iPads for games or whatever during school days, weekdays. Okay. We've got a PlayStation at home. They can't play on the PlayStation throughout the whole weekday. School days. For the whole week, they can't play on the PlayStation. The only time they can play on the PlayStation even, was once over the weekend, like one day of the weekend, and that's only on the condition that they've done the homework.
Okay.
Right? So no PlayStation throughout the whole week. Over the weekend, they could only play on one of the days, either Saturday or Sunday, but only after they've done the homework.
This was pre-lockdown.
Pre-lockdown, yeah. Now, since the lockdown, I'm allowing them to have more time on the iPads. They do their homework first at the beginning of the day. So, you know, most of the morning is them doing their work, the school type of work, academic work. In the afternoon, because our TV needs to be replaced for the room, the gaming room, the PlayStation is inactive. So we need we've got the PlayStation, we haven't got the TV. Right? Okay. I've ordered another TV, but it's going to take another couple of weeks before it gets, because of delays. It was from, even though it's from Amazon's own warehouse, it was a prime thing, it's taken a couple of weeks.
It's getting it to you, isn't it? It's the logistics side.
So they've got another couple of weeks before they get the PlayStation. So far, they've not played the PlayStation. I'm blessed, I reckon.
So what are they doing then?
Well, I'm quite
Who set the routine?
I think it kind of fell into place. I kind of guided it, but I let them come to a decision as well. So my point was, I treat my kids almost like a workforce sometimes. You know, like when you manage a workforce.
You know, I think that's the Asian in us, isn't it? We all do that.
I don't know whether it's the Asian, but I've learned a few things in my younger days as a manager of staff, of large numbers of staff, and how to manage things and get people to buy into things and get them to do it for themselves, rather than you having to convince them to do something. So my style of managing the kids sometimes is a bit of a managerial style. And although we have a set routines dependent on Salah times, so you got the prayers that come throughout the day. Mm-hmm. So we all pray. So even the kids pray. They've got that routine. They know they have to do that. And then you've got then you've got some of the kids, the younger kids, who don't do that, but they're always playing anyway. The 3-year-old is never going to pray with us. He's just going to play.
Yeah.
The older ones, it will be a discussion. Like when this lockdown took place, before it kind of went really silly, I shouldn't say silly, but before it became really bad and really restrictive, I already had that conversation with them, because I was trying to get some food and I realised from the shops I couldn't get some certain food, and I said to them, I had to have a sit down and a discussion with them. I said, look, we're going to go through some challenging times. It's not normal, not what you're used to, but we will overcome it, inshallah. Right? But here's what we've got to do. We've got to be patient. We've got to be more accommodating. We've got to look after each other. We've got to not waste, be more...
Dictatorship.
Call it dictatorship, Nab. That's
Why
fine.
not? Why not?
That's fine. That's the only chance I'm going to get.
Just call him the dictator.
Yeah. So I had that chat before, on the evening of when we had that announcement that's it, we can't go out.
Yeah.
I had that chat that evening because I was finding it difficult to get certain foods. You always give the kids what they want usually. Well, not always, but
do you though?
You try and you try your best. Yes, Saleh, I brought the chappal out, the Bata chappal actually. Yes, I've still got one of them. So I had that chat. I had that chat with them. So what that did was, number one, it gave them expectations of what to and what not to expect. Number two, it gave us an agreement informally that what we're going to be like over this coming period. Number three, when the routine was being formed, it was being formed with their input. So they decided to do it. It wasn't me dictating, saying, you have to do this.
Disclaimer, I like that. Okay.
Do you see what I'm coming from? So anytime, it's preemptive thinking. So what I was doing is I was forming a plan without putting it in writing, but for something that everybody agreed on. And then if somebody didn't do it, then obviously they would be seen as the naughty child. But I'm quite lucky and blessed that we've not come to that. That was quite a long conversation from
No,
me.
to be fair, I think you've got it figured out in including the children in the decision making.
It's important.
Almost to the extent that they feel they've made the decision.
Always, yes. But
that's actually a really good tip. I like that.
I think, if anything, when it comes to kids, if we're always dictating, they will always see us as the dictators.
Eddie's asking if they signed a contract.
It was a verbal contract, Eddie. You know me, coming from a legal background myself as well, I do get...
so who do you think would struggle most with a routine or finding a routine now in the current climate? Is it children? Is it 9-to-5 workers?
I think there's a whole variety of people. Look, if there's a family with maybe just one child, that's not going to be easy. There isn't that many people to interact with.
Yes, that's so true. Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to be a bit more softer on that child.
Mm.
You're going to be softer on yourself. If there are people who weren't in a job and didn't have a routine as a benchmark, they're not going to form a routine just because they're in this situation.
Because
They've never been in a routine, or they weren't in a routine before this happened. There could be those, people in those kind of circumstances.
Interesting to see what the listeners or the viewers even think on that. Who's grasped a good routine and who's struggling? And obviously, for the people that have got good routines, throw some tips at us. I know I could use them. Dictator Sab here already. He's got it all figured out. I'm still struggling.
It's called risk management.
There you go. Routine, though, it's such a...
Look,
it really gets you thinking, doesn't it?
Yeah, I wouldn't say the routine has to be a rigid one. I think as long as you know there's certain tasks that need to be done, you do them.
Yeah.
I'm not... in this situation, I'm not going to go for a rigid routine. Look, I have expectations, but not a routine.
Mm-hmm.
They know what's expected.
Okay.
But it's not going to be according to a timetable.
See, we naturally connect the two, don't we?
When
I think routine, I straight away think timetable. I think a routine means waking up at this time, doing this at this certain time, lunch at a certain time.
Yeah.
So you're saying routine is not so much to do with the clock?
Not right now, it's not.
Okay.
So for me, a routine is when you wake up, this needs to be done, your homework needs to be done, your schoolwork needs to be done. Well, after you've had breakfast, obviously. Then there's time for prayers, right? If obviously they're not old enough to all get up for Fajr, but they're not old enough, none of my kids apart from one, just edging there. It's not even Farz on them, but they're still praying. Getting them into that routine again. Do you see where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
So they pray together. We do it in Jamaat. So they will pray.
Sure.
Then after prayers, they'll have light snacks. Yeah. But it's not according to a timetable. Then they can chill out. They can chill out for the rest of the day. They've got a time also before the second prayer that they go out and play outside in the garden with each other. Give them some exercise.
See, that's interesting. I like that.
But for me, right now, routine does not mean timetable. I've disconnected the two. Routine means routinely every day these are things that you're going to have to do.
You need to do.
But those are things that they've agreed to do, not me telling them to do it. They've agreed to do it. In every decision, their input has been important. And that's the important way that's the best way I've found in my experience to get someone's buy-in to do something. You get that input when you're making the decision in the first place. So, someone is saying generally people seek routines, so I think most will find new routines. As I'm saying, children with special needs struggle without their normal routine. Okay, yeah, that's a good point. Those with special needs, they need to have some consistency in what they're doing. Naz is saying, struggling, my kids think day is night and night is day. Naz, it's not just your kids.
We feel you. Genuinely, we feel that.
I'm too exhausted with my autoimmune condition. My timing is perfect, but breakfast at 3 p.m. for kids is mentally draining. Routine doesn't have to be a timetable. It's a list of tasks. Yep, this is what I was saying, Eddie. Routine can help discipline. Yes, routine can help discipline.
Mentally draining and physically draining, isn't it?
Can you please mention housewives and appreciate them? They are still cooking and cleaning, so their routine hasn't changed. If anything, it's become harder. No, Farzana, we can't do that. I'm just joking. We can do
it
that.
has changed.
It
has changed.
Yeah, in fact, it has become harder. I can see it. I mean, I see it in my wife, and she's, man, in normal days, when I say normal, I'm saying general days where when people, before this lockdown, you'd have breakfast, you'd have a light lunch or something, and then you have dinner, right? Now it's just breakfast, lunch,
snack.
Yep. dinner, you know what I mean? So there's so much more cleaning up to do. There's so much more to do. Not that, you know,
So
you all contribute, but
that's
there's
where the
overall.
answer maybe lies then.
What do you mean?
In the, do you say housewives? Do you say homemakers? What's the correct terminology?
I don't know. What is the correct terminology, guys?
So, for sake of argument, we'll say housewife or homemaker.
Because it was referred to here. Yes.
Yeah. So we're just picking up on that same point. Is that if you've got somebody who stays home every day and, you know, sorts breakfast, gets everybody off to work, school, wherever they're going, sees to the housework and stuff to do at home, and then picks back up when everybody gets back in the house in the evening, is that maybe the key person to bringing about routine to all of us?
Key workers. Well, I think our lifestyle is determined by our routines are determined by the tasks that we have to fulfill. Look, you run your business, you know, at certain times of the day you need to go and do some shopping.
Yeah.
Right? You need to buy the ingredients, you've got to buy, you know, the stock to make sure it's all ready, right?
Yeah.
Now, it doesn't mean to say you have to be a certain place at a certain specific time, but it means around a certain time.
Well, yeah.
Yeah? Or it needs to be done, certain tasks need to be completed before the next step, the next task, or before the shop opens, right? For some people, there may be meetings. Some people might be clocking in factories before this happens. Some people, it might have been, 9-to-5 jobs. They have to be in their office at a specific time. So it all depends on your particular work, your lifestyle, your jobs and the tasks that are at hand.
Yeah.
You are amazing. My wife is a rock. Eddie. A shout out to Eddie's wife for being a rock. Ramadan is coming, so you will no need to cook as much. That's a good point, Sakib.
That's debatable in itself, isn't it?
Why, in some families it is. Yeah, 24-hour job, no clocking off, Naz says, for women. You're welcome, Farzana. We give you the shout out. They are homemakers, Eddie says. Key person, I like
home
that.
managers.
They make the home, they manage the home.
Which again leaves them in a very
home ministers.
Powerful position. Yeah,
home ministers. Let's just call them home ministers.
Yeah. Maybe they are the key in all of this then. Maybe we should try not to upset their routine, because they're probably the, only people in all of this that can still somewhat maintain their routine. We should still be able to work around that.
Yeah, I think it needs. I think in our house, for example, there is no free they can have certain types of snacks whenever they want, like fruits and
There's
whatever.
There's not meals on demand, is there?
Yeah, but in some cases there is. This is the problem. In some houses there is. That's what needs to stop.
Yeah.
Look, here, I have to agree with Farzana here that there's some families, and I've seen some houses where it is happening where the wives at home or the females in the house are being treated like literally waitresses or cooks, private chefs and stuff, and that's got to stop. Because
it's not a 1 or 2 day thing, is it? It's not a weekend or a long weekend or a half term.
They've got their own lives to live, not just for you, and you've got to give them that life. And if my wife's a classic example. There are people like my wife who don't want to stop doing certain things.
Yeah,
right. She's a workaholic, but you've got to stop. You've got to try. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Here's the question then. If you've described the women in the house as the key workers,
in this situation,
how do you propose that we manage what we do, or anybody in the house manages what they do around them? What do they do differently?
Well, I think we have to accept that they could go on with their routine. Quite possible. Just because we're in the way a little bit.
Just one point. Eddie says, they say behind every successful man there is an amazing woman. There's another saying to that, isn't there?
Well, if you want to increase your success, Eddie, I'm not giving any ideas.
Go on.
But So if you've got a person in the home who is basically the key worker, who's steering the ship in the home, why can we not adapt to their routine? Why does their routine have to change because ours did? Which is the case in most homes now, isn't it?
So what if your key worker, let's just refer to them as key workers now, if your key worker suggests that you have your breakfast every morning 9 o'clock?
I think they should.
Do you reckon?
Yeah, I mean,
because it's their routine.
Yeah,
That's what they're most comfortable with.
yes, because that's what they do, isn't it? That's their routine. That's what they've been doing. Because at 10 o'clock they've got something else to do.
Or you get up, make your own breakfast, and wash up after yourself.
Yeah,
That's the simplest way of doing it. You don't expect. There are certain
See, the thing
things.
is, it's two birds with one stone, isn't it? One,
Who are
the
the
person
birds?
at home could still have their routine undisturbed, and secondly, it then gives you a bit of a routine, a bit of a purpose, a bit of a, certain things aren't changed. So meal times won't change for you.
Someone says go work in the garden. Yeah.
Yeah, so if meal times don't change for you, or you don't allow them to change, if family hour, for example, or board game hour, whatever it is that you might do, if these things you can still maintain, it just means you've got some gaps to fill for most of us.
You mentioned an interesting word, board games. Does anyone still play board games? If you do, which ones do you play? I'm interested to know.
Are we talking physically, like on an actual board on the table?
Could be
or-
either. Could be either. I'll tell you why. Because we have a whiteboard in. Are we allowed to call whiteboards now?
Is it white?
It is white.
What would you
but,
rather-
but you can't call. Apparently, I read somewhere that was something to do with the chalk and the other boards. You can't call them.
Blackboards.
Yeah. That's really weird. But anyway, you know what I mean. So
We're not
whiteboard and markers. We've got a set of whiteboard and markers at home. We play at home, and we play things like Hangman. It's real fun. It's real fun. And my kids have learned how to play drafts.
Draft is good.
It's brilliant. It's not as complicated as chess, but it's good.
It's strategic, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
not. See, I quite enjoy Monopoly.
Yeah.
But my only issue with Monopoly is a lot of it is left to luck. It's a roll of the dice, isn't it?
Yes.
So you can be you can do your you can only do so much risk assessments. You can play it safe up to a certain extent.
Yeah.
But the truth is, it's a lot of it is down to a roll of a dice.
Yeah. True. How many of you play? Oh, Frazana, dry whiteboards. Okay, so that's what they call. Frazana's playing Ludo. Have you played Ludo?
It's funny you mentioned that.
Go on.
I think I was the last person to get onto this Ludo craze over these last few days. I didn't, completely unbeknown to me, was that my entire family is playing this app.
Ah, is there an app for it?
Yeah, there's an
Okay.
app. There's a few apps. And they've kind of dismissed a couple because the quality wasn't good or the board wasn't good or whatever. But again, Ludo, my issue with Ludo, and I don't mean to offend
It's a roll of the dice. And
this is part of our heritage, isn't it? Ludo
Yeah.
it goes back. It's a roll of the dice. So yeah, there's some element of strategy to it, but it's a bit out there, isn't it?
Yes. Anyway, we're coming close to 7:35 nearly. So I didn't realise we'd been on live
done
for
well.
so long. But here's the thing, guys. Look, the title of this particular podcast was WTF. You can think of that as you will, but at the same time, the point was, where's the focus? So the whole point of doing this podcast, although a lot of this time has been taken to talk about the doom and the gloom, we need to shift our focus from the negatives into the positives at the same time. We have a lot of very healthy, well balanced motivational speakers who are known to me, who have kind of broken down, who have like really started to struggle. I think we need to shift the focus from just the negative stuff, because there is negative, and the negatives need to be understood, but we don't need to delve into them so deep that they overtake our lives.
Definitely, yeah.
Completely. So if anything, we leave you with that message, and we hope that, well, first of all, thanks for tuning in. We really enjoyed your interactions. We should be back next week, same time. And if you have a topic which you feel we should be discussing, then give us a shout, let us know. Otherwise, we've got a few up the sleeve when we've got our sleeves down. And we'll see you next week. Do you want to start off, Ali?
No, I agree with that, to be fair. We tried to keep it light-hearted. We got off topic a couple of times, but
thanks, Simon. Yeah. Thanks for interacting. And
where's the focus? Where was our focus today?
Where was our focus? It was. I mean, I think the focus for us was to divert people's focus from the negatives.
Yeah.
And I think we kind of somewhat got there towards the end, but we need to start thinking more positive things. A lot of positives are coming out of this. People are learning new things. People are rekindling old relationships, and people are beginning to show the humanity that exists within us and demonstrate that. We have a lot of good work going on in the community, where people are literally going out and risking themselves for others. Really working.
Definitely, I think we can't really finish without a mention to all the frontline soldiers, heroes, NHS workers, care workers, people working in supermarkets and food,
and also people who are running food banks, people who are going out there out of their way and delivering food parcels. Quite a few of our friends are doing that. So positive. That's definitely.
We should always be able to take a minute to appreciate them. Yeah. The thing with human nature is you only appreciate NHS once you need it or use it. But it doesn't have to be like that, does it?
No, it doesn't.
We should be able to appreciate the people risking their lives.
Yes, exactly.
And everyone shows it in their own way, but try and show it in such a way that they see it. I know there's been a lot of clapping lately.
Well, someone suggested clapping for Boris Johnson tonight at 8 o'clock. Anyway, look, I think it's easy to come out and clap. It's more challenging to put aside your differences and show sincerity sometimes to the people who you've possibly had negative perceptions about, and they've changed now. But show that they've changed. Show that you appreciate what people are doing. It's okay to start clapping for people and celebrate all the stuff that they're doing. But if you're going to go vote against them for having a pay rise and simple things like that, that's a bit of a contradiction, and you're a fool for doing that. And likewise, if you had a misconception about people of certain race or religion who associate themselves, and they're the ones who are coming to your aid and help, show it, appreciate it, because that's really what humanity is about. It's not about having your alliances and sticking with them for the sake of sticking with them. It's about having your own mind.
Excellent point to finish on. I agree with that wholeheartedly.
So on that note,
all right,
have a good evening, have a good one.
Enjoy, guys.